What's the worst thing about how they make new cars now? This is a peeve that probably goes back to the 80s. Bumpers for cars are now plastic contoured pieces that require replacement or repair if scratched or dented. I remember my dad's old cars back in the day had these big metal bars with two rubber bumpers. Bumpers on the bumpers are a long rubber horizontal strip. If you actually bumped into another car, zero damage that needed repair. Their purpose was to absorb bumps. Modern car bumpers are part of the style and design of the car, to make it look sleek, and they are absolutely garbage as bumpers. In Europe, the constant bleeps when you're speeding according to the speedometer. It's not that I'm a speed freak or a racing driver by any means, but in general 3.5 speeding means you're actually driving the allowed speed. Both are due to European safety regulations. And yes, you can disable the bleeps, but they reset every restart of the car, so you need to remind yourself every single time you start the car. And warning up front, apparently in due time it will not be possible to disable those awful bleeps due to upcoming safety regulations. Too many electrical components and not enough mechanical. My Honda has had to be taken in 4 goddamn times in 4 years because one single $1,000 wire gets detached or chewed by a rodent because they wrap the damn wires in soy plastic, and then suddenly nothing will work, including transmission, odometer, emergency brakes, etc. We're on the cusp of an age where collecting and fixing up an old car will be impossible unless you're both an electrical engineer as well as a mechanic. A couple of weeks back my church crew had an outing and we were going to this arena to play games. I didn't have a ride and someone from the crew reached out and agreed upon picking me up and taking me to the destination. When he had arrived in his Swift, I decided to sit in the back and I was looking for the latch to open the door. It wasn't where normal latches would be, it was at the topmost right corner, not even attached to the door. I find it super inconvenient. Emo. When I even TC'd said yet the size and height of the vehicles. Vehicular deaths are up because when you used to get hit by a car, it was your legs and you'd get thrown over the vehicle or off to the side. Now when you get hit by a car, it is a full body blow, almost always the chest, often the head too with some trucks, and people just die. We really don't need big cars, but we made a society where we end up wanting them. Rental car manager here. It's hands down the auto start stop feature. When you are at a red light it feels like the engine dies and it freaks out customers if you forget to explain it to them and how to disable it. It allegedly saves gas when in reality it's probably damaging your starter. I have yet to meet a single human being who doesn't hate it with a passion, and I've been doing this for 5 years. Reliance on electronic components to work. We had to discard a 2002 Nissan Sentra because some stupid electronic part broke and was no longer made. It made the car ultra unreliable and left us stranded several times. Each time this stupid part was repaired or replaced, and eventually only a junkyard might have the part. Meanwhile, my neighbor is fixing his 1965 Mustang with baling wire and spit. How about just going back for models about 5-7 years ago, and their informatics system is just garbage? The advent of screen sharing from your phone has been a game changer. Buying a used car now with just a radio, no screen nav system is impossible. And I don't want to have to put up with some shitty informatics system that doesn't work as well as my phone. We all will use our phones over that. They are increasingly hostile to the world around them. Cars in general are a problem. Going electric doesn't make as much of a difference as people like to think it does. Drivers still want more lanes. Highway departments can't afford to maintain roads and bridges they have. Cars are bigger and more powerful. The safety features are focused on the occupants of these more dangerous vehicles. As an urbanist, that they still make them, intending to maintain their hegemony as transport methods in our cities. Electric cars won't fix anything in this regard. As a decent person, that they're demonstrably and undeniably killing more children every year as they get bigger. Get your penis enlarged already. Your collective compensations are killing kids, for Christ's sake. Yeah, our fuck cars. Working on them is a pain. Everything talks to everything. This requires wiring from everything to everything. Removing a component involves taking off the bolts and 3 to 4 connectors. And there's so much place so tightly packed that you usually have to remove an unrelated part to get to the one you're fixing. It really doesn't feel like maintenance is ever thought of during the design phase. In the US at least, headlights have gotten brighter, higher, and numerous. Driving at night has become one long game of do they have their high beams on, or are their lights just that awful? How they've been allowed to get this bad is beyond me. I don't have any vision issues at night and it's horrendous for me. I can't imagine how it is for people that do have those vision issues. That legislation means minimum MPG ratings for vehicles causes auto companies to make them bigger and bigger because they are based on area. To have a small pickup truck like in the 80-90s, it would need 50-70 MPG based on the footprint of the vehicle. People want those smaller vehicles and would buy them if they were cheaper, but they can't hit the MPG required. The entire industry is based on the planned obsolescence, so everything is designed to be reliable up until a certain predetermined point, so you have to pay to get it fixed or buy a new car. The whole idea that they just don't make them like they used to as a common phrase exists because companies choose not to make them fully reliable so they can make more money. They're expensive and unreliable. 1990s, early 2000s Hondas and Toyotas were the peak of car reliability. One of my cars is a manual transmission 2002 Honda Accord that refuses to die. I bought it new in 2002. It has outlived 5 of my wife's cars. I replaced the stereo with one that does Apple CarPlay. I don't feel like I'm missing anything from newer cars. Even though it's not that new, I went to do the front brakes on my girl's 2010 Kia Optima. When I went to take the rotor off, it was screwed into and attached to the strut, so when I went to try and take it off, the entire hub it sits on arched forward, so now I had to get a second jack to jack up the hub and reattach it. Dumbest thing I've ever worked on. Shortcuts, cost cutting, lower quality and standards. The legendary Lexus LS 400 back in the day showed how it was done. Quality leather seats that could last a lifetime, wooden trims, etc. Nowadays, parts like seats, door handles, trims, consoles, etc. are made of plastic, rubber, synthetic leather that are easy to scratch and don't last. The overall build quality over the last couple of years. Seems like so many cars built in the last couple of years look clapped out after 6 months. Random trim pieces falling off. Chipped and faded paint. So many cars have constant transmission and engine issues, which I credit to all the CVTs and tiny turbocharged engines. Automatic high beams. Ridiculously annoying feature. On. Off. On. Off. On. Off. It lasted until the first time I stopped at a light in our last new vehicle before I dug into the settings to find where to turn off that stupid feature. If you can't see well enough with LED headlights, you shouldn't be driving. Auto start stop. I refuse to purchase a vehicle with it. It's supposed to be better for the environment, but I just don't buy that. Hard on your starter, so you're gonna replace that more often. Just one of those look, we are reducing emissions bullshit instead of actually fixing the environmental problems. I'm all for technology, but there's so many electronics, and when something goes wrong, it costs so much to diagnose and replace, especially if you're out of warranty. Also, sometimes even the most basic things are hard to access. You have to remove covers and disassemble things just to get to a light bulb. Direct injection engines, it fails basic common sense, owners will suffer. Many of these engines end up developing crazy oil consumption, cannot be easily cleaned, will cost thousands and thousands to fix, and all for the sake of better economy emissions while burning oil. Trollala. It's a travesty. The friggin' cost. In my area, it's $30,000 in Canada, after taxes, for most baseline sedan models. Again, after taxes, that's a full year's income for a whole bunch of people in full-time jobs. Even the cheapest, the Nissan Versa, is around $20,000 after taxes. It's utterly ridiculous. Mass size. My 2000 Mustang GT with a big ol' iron block V8 was a portly 3,300 pounds. A BMW M2 now outweighs it by 500 pounds. It's ridiculous. There was a picture posted to Reddit today of 2 of the same model of pickup truck 30 years apart, and it's almost comical how massive they are now. I'm actually going to be buying a 70 C10 next summer, partially because I like classics, partially because they're just so much easier to work on and I can fix it myself, but also partially because I'm just done with all the overly done tech. I want to drive a vehicle, not a computer. The block heater extension cords, you lose it. The dealership charges you $80 plus, and a regular cord from the hardware store won't plug in. No tow hooks for getting unstuck, so you have to wait for a tow truck or crawl underneath and hope there is a strong point to attach the rope to. Buttons are a dial for shifting to drive, neutral, and reverse in cars with automatic transmissions. Sometimes I think I've shifted when I haven't because I didn't press the button hard enough, or I didn't twist the dial long enough. I need the tactile feedback that stick shifter gives. I know that it's not possible to eliminate this, but all of the computer stuff will mean they don't age well. Who will want a classic 2023 car in 30 years? You'll have to replace the entire dash, and even getting it to run with aging electronics might start to become tricky. They all look the same. It's like every single SUV is the exact same with tiny difference. Even the Subarus, which use it, at least look different and stand out just like generic SUV. Jeep Grand Strength on to match the look of every other SUV. You aren't buying a product, you are buying a service that will cost you 3 times the initial price of the vehicle. You're buying a piece of shit designed to fail on you with every expense skipped to save money, yet you're still paying a premium for their shit. Turn signals on the bottom of the car due to regulations, they cannot be on any moving parts tailgate. Manufacturers decide to install straight sleek taillights to override the regulation instead of doing it the classic way, just place it on the side bumper. That is increasingly difficult to work on your own vehicle. Can't work on the newer ones without needing 20 specialty tools. Shit, some cars you have to practically disassemble the whole thing just to change the battery or install new headlight bulbs. Probably those stupid electric automatic handbrakes. I cannot imagine a single alteration to vehicular controls which is more likely to cause an accident. Personal opinion, I'm sure there are worse stupidities out there, but this one is my bugbear. Headlights that blind oncoming traffic from fucking 500 feet away. In smaller cars, no big deal. In full-size pickups and big SUVs, the headlights are higher and they shine right in your eyes if you drive anything remotely lower to the ground. Why are the screens getting bigger and bigger? Like others have said, the lack of physical buttons suck. But bigger screens also means distractions. I swear I see half the newer cars on the road look like they have a fucking laptop hooked up.